We get to go through here and dodge the trolls. And if they see us, they do that.
No, they'll never be an end.
It's time for troll shenanigans. Edgar's ruse.
What can I do for you, young'un?
We're going to quietly forget that Senfu's voice sucks, and we're going to ask to see if he has anything else for us to do. So he needs a certain herb that used to be common, but now only trolls know where it is, and he's basically asking us to go and steal some. Off we go to the top of the mountain to go talk to that other guy that we rescued when we did Troll Stronghold not too long ago. And we go to Edgar's, let's call it a house. And he straight up calls himself mad, which is never a good sign. And he basically says we need to go and talk to one of the troll cooks. We're going to talk to Burnt Meat here. He is going to immediately try to cook us. We try to discourage him and is successful because Burnt Meat has about as many functioning brain cells as his namesake. Of course, Burnt Meat is not going to help us unless we help him, which is to bring back a tasty human. With a lack of any sort of idea, we go back to Edgar and ask if he has a clue, which apparently he does. Apparently he has a great plan, and that plan starts off with getting a parrot. So, time to go do some crime at the zoo. What we're gonna do is we're gonna booze up some pineapple, and we're just gonna steal a parrot right in front of the guy whose job it is to stop people from stealing the parrot. We're back at Edgar's with our drunk stolen parrot, and we find out that his plan is to make something that looks like a human, sounds like a human, smells like a human, and tastes like a human. So that's the next part of things that we're gonna do. We're gonna shove the parrot underneath this rack here and let it listen in on hopefully something useful. And we're just gonna go and grab the next part of our plan. We're gonna go and talk to this guy here who's doing the laundry. And we're just gonna gently, emotionally manipulate him into giving us some spare dirty robes so we have something that is vaguely human smelling. We return back to Edgar after climbing up this mountain for probably the 80th time and hand him over a bunch of chicken straw and a robe so that he can make a chickeny human puppet thing, I guess. But additionally, what we have to do is we have to make a truth serum potion out of a Renar herb and then a random grass that happens to grow nearby. That is fiendishly hard to find. So we dry this out, grind it, throw it into potion, and we have our truth serum. And we can go and retrieve the parrot. With our parrot in hand, we return back to Edgar, get ourselves a proper fake man to finally actually do the thing we originally set out to do, which was to gently convince the trolls to give us goutweed. We return to Burnt Meat, hand over the fake man, who is very convincing, and Burnt Meat puts it in the stew and is very happy and gives us some burnt meat, which apparently is very precious to him. So, after tasting the stew that has been laced by truth serum, he tells us that the remaining amount of goutweed is guarded in a storeroom and the key is in a drawer. And that basically the trolls being trolls overpicked the goutweed and now there's no more goutweed except for what's in their storeroom. So that's a good discovery. So now it's time for probably the most aggravating part of this quest, which is getting the goutweed from the storeroom, full of weirdly diligent trolls. I guess they care about goutweed. You saw at the start of the episode one of the failures. You fail a lot because the the vision range of these guys is kind of weird. They sometimes see you in a straight line. They sometimes don't see you in a straight line. They sometimes see you around corners, seemingly. And it's just an adventure trying to get through here. But we successfully stole some goutweed, which means that we can leave this goddamn place and complete our quest. But yeah. We get some Herblore XP, and most importantly, we can teleport to Trollheim, which means that we don't have to walk there anymore. Hooray. It's time for Spookies! Or Shades of Morton. Quest number 61. It starts out finding a diary hidden in this ruined town full of shades and afflicted people, which describes out a series of Herblore experiments that hopefully will solve the problem, maybe, but the original owner didn't actually get to a successful formula before expiring, afflicting. Not really quite sure what happened to Herpyflax. But it does explain out a basic version of the potion, which will work temporarily. And hopefully will be enough to get things kicked off. So we can solve the problem. Hurrah. So, the potion is just Caramin and then ashes. Which is, after you do this quest, is actually a pretty good low to mid-level way of training Herblore. First off, we use 1 dose of the potion on Oldschool here, who mostly knows what's going on and is a little bit helpful, and then another dosage on Resmir here, who runs the general store, but wants us to clear out some of the shades first and gather their remains. So we go and do that, hand some of them over. Resmir, he opens up his shop for us so we can buy supplies to fix the temple. And then hand over some others to Oldschool, who provides us with some useful information on actually fixing the temple so we can do it. So let's go and fix this temple. Shouldn't be. Hold please. Alright. Selected the correct conversation options now. Let's fix this temple. So, for anyone who hasn't done this quest yet, it's generally easiest to do this on the official world. People do Shades of Morton. You can do Shades of Morton. It's a not terrible source of mid-grade salvage. You can also solo it, but it is kind of a pain in the ass. We'll get this fixed up, get the Sanctity, bless our oil to do our super awesome things, and we'll be back in half a second. There we go. Went sanctified some Serum 207 into Serum 208, as well as some olive oil while we were there. So let's go and cure some people forever. First up is Oldschool. Gives us his life savings and gratitude. And then Resmir, who also gives us his life savings and gratitude. And then the last thing we need to do is put one of these shades to rest by just dunking the sacred oil on some logs and cremating them. Goes woo, and then that's the quest. We have access to the Shades of Morton activity, if we happen to ever want to do that. On the 2nd of November 2004, a new region was made accessible by the fixing of the bridge that I'm currently standing on. This gave access to the Fremnik province, Ralka, and a new quest where you get access to be able to do fun and cool things. 62nd quest in the game, the Fremnik Trial. But first we need to get a shark. So normally, if this was old school, I would do the fishing trawler, because that was out at this time. You can get a shark from it. You don't have to go all the way to shark levels to get a shark. Problem, you can't do fishing trawler on an Iron Man in RS3. However, there's this thing called Deep Sea Fishing Hub, which has an equivalent activity, which can give you sharks among other random fish. So I went and got the level to be able to do that, to get a shark. Start out by talking to Brunt the Chieftain here, where we basically inquire why nobody wants to talk to us, and it turns out that they are jerks. We say that we want to become a Fremnik, and he basically says that we have to go and get the majority of Council of Elders to vote for us the next time they have their secret hidden meeting in the middle of who knows where in this tiny little town. Now, while there are 12, and we have to get 7, 5 of the 7 straight up will not help us, and there's nothing we can do. So, in this situation, we are going to go and prefer to interact with the ones who can help us. The first fellow we are going to enlist the aid of is Manly the Reveler. We basically just have to beat him in a drinking contest. We grab a nearby keg, and we engage in absolute bullshit. He's drinking from a tankard. We're drinking an entire keg. I'm pretty sure that we won on a technicality, but this is not going to end well if we keep trying to do this, so we're gonna cheat. Those who recall the Murder Mystery Quest, the whole business with the Sinclairs, might remember the poison salesman, who has branched out from selling incredibly deadly poison into selling booze. So, not much of a move in the grand scheme of things. This man basically creates non-alcoholic. But we are going to go and purchase it because we need to cheat at a drinking contest and still be able to stand after consuming only 20 gallons of alcohol. Now, we're gonna stop off on our way back because while we do have a keg of non-alcoholic, well, low alcoholic beer in our inventory, that's not gonna fly come bringing in outside booze to the party. So we're gonna need a distraction, and hopefully we're going to go and give this council dude who fixed the bridge a beer. And as a thanks, he will give us a cherry bomb, which gives us a pretty nice distraction. Light it on fire. Grab another keg of beer. Swap them out. And then we get to go and do a little cheating. And he is so impressed by our ability to drink an entire keg and not notice it that he lets us win. And we get his vote. Second up is Sigley the Huntsman, who wants us to go and hunt some invisible thing. He gives us this talisman thing, and we have to go and hunt down this invisible wandering monster that essentially passed back and forth in the southern part of this forest. And when we find it, we have to beat the crap out of it. Aha! It's very easy. But with the dragon defeated, we can go back and report our success. 2 out of 7. third in this series of adventures is Sigmund the Merchant. He wants us to do one small favor for him and get him a flower. The sailor has the flower, but is trying to impress a girl, so he'll only give it up if he gets a poem. Now, Olaf will write the poem, but he's busy because he needs new shoes. So if we can handle the shoes, he'll handle the poem. Ursa will do the shoes. Olaf's already paid up or whatever, but she won't do it for us unless the taxes are reduced because she doesn't like us and she wants us to fail. Brunt will reduce the taxes if hunting locations are shared. Sigli will share the hunting locations, but only if he gets a better bowstring. Fulgriman will give the bowstring in exchange for a weird fish he heard about. The fisherman will hand over the fish, but only if he gets a fishing map of better fishing spots. Swenson has the map and will share it, but only if he gets a weather forecast. Here, the seer will give forecasts if he gets a bodyguard. Thorvald will be a bodyguard for Pierre the Seer, but only if he can sit in the long haul. Manny will give up his seat in the long haul because he's only there in the faint hope that he'll get a special cocktail, so if he gets that, he has no reason to stay. Thora will make the cocktail only if Askeladdin swears to stay out of the bar. And Askeladdin will make that promise for 5,000 coins, which is the first task we can actually do, so we get to wind this whole thing back. And we return, giving the flower over to Sigmund the Merchant, and after 5,000 coins and a lot of cardio, we have our third vote. Fourth is Olaf the Bard. We have to make a lyre, enchant it, and sing a little song, which is The True Nightmare, public performances. First part of this is making the lyre itself, so we need a fancy, neat little branch that we then can craft into an unstrung lyre, and then we have to get suitably magical string for it. The only thing that will do, apparently, is golden sheep. Lolly here is the keeper of the golden sheep, is convinced that everyone wants the golden apples. Lolly is way too smart for their own good. Askeladdin here pretty much just pulled the oldest trick in the book, fooling the troll into thinking that a rock was a valid pet that would guard the apples that nobody wants. Unfortunately, we can't do the same thing twice, but we have another classic trick to pull. So we make him soup with a rock in it, and he is extremely impressed. We are getting very tired of dealing with him at this point because we just want fleece. Make ourselves some golden wool, string our lyre. So we're not a musician, so we need to enchant it to teach us how to play it while we're playing it. Fortunately, there is a magical lady on the coast who will enchant our lyre in exchange for a shark. Talk to Olaf the Bard again, and then we go and play. And we just humble brag that we're in the Legends Guild. Which apparently is good enough for Olaf, which is slightly concerning. But we have his vote. Next up is a nice easy one. It is Swenson, who is the navigator, which tests our ability to navigate. He says that the maze is a fiendish difficulty, but honestly it's literally just his name, so south, west, east, north, south, east, north. And then you're done. 5 out of 7. Thorvald the Warrior, who we talked to previously to make him become a bodyguard. He wants us to defeat a great warrior in combat 3 times. Now, there are ways to cheese this, especially in RuneScape 3, where you can take a pickaxe off of your belt, and which you do technically have a weapon now. I consider that cheating. What I'm going to do instead is change over to Legacy Combat. So, I originally I originally planned out this whole thing where I would kind of emulate. I'm just like, oh, this is easy, medium, hard. And then I just go and beat all 4 of his forms. Like, this is kind of the flaw of Legacy mode, is the numbers get really wonky because the game is balanced around evolution of combat now, and it's been balanced around evolution of combat for a long time. So if you go into Legacy mode, like, everything becomes like super weird and doesn't quite behave as you would expect. So, yeah. That's Kashai the Deathless. It's quite honestly not very difficult to do, even without cheesing it. That gives us Thorvald's vote. We're 6 out of 7. Last up is Peer to Seer, which has a challenge house, which it starts with a riddle. There's a handful of different ones, but it's all 4-letter words. This one is just tree, and we have successfully entered the challenge. So this is basically an escape room. There's a bunch of stuff all over the place. Some of it's not relevant. And we have to go and get out the other door. First off, we get ourselves a jug with the number 3 on it. Then a bucket with the number 5 on it. And a red herring, which is surprisingly not a red herring. And then a couple of colored discs. We start out by filling up the jug, and then dumping that in the bucket. Then filling up the jug again. If we can find the tap. Putting that in the bucket. Then taking that 1/3 full jug, keeping that around, but dumping the full bucket. Now we can put the 1/3 into the bucket. Fill the jug up one more time. And now we have a 4/5 full bucket that we can put on the chest, which gives us a vase. Which has something in it. We can fill that up with water, and while we're here, we will bake the paint off of the herring to get a second red disc. We have this weird mural on the wall with some empty spaces on it. So we can just put the discs onto the wall with a liberal amount of misclicking. And that gives us the lid for the vase. After we have this, we can seal up the vase. Then use the sealed vase in this frozen corner of the room to get ourselves a frozen key, which we then can melt on the stove to get our key out. And then we have completed Pierre's trial. And he's very impressed with us. So having obtained 7 votes, we can go back to front. Who will make us be a Fremnik, and we get a bad trick shit ton of lamps. We also get a name, and we technically get a blade that we dropped on the floor. And we can do a bunch of other things. And I am Dotor, which in the grand scheme of things is not that bad. And we get another lodestone unlocked. We can get back here quickly. Well, that's it for this episode. At the rate I've been doing these, 3 months. Let's say 3 months. That seems more accurate.